Hey everyone, and welcome to the club. In today's lesson I'll be showing you how to make use of some old Sharpies. And if you're like me, I go through Sharpies like crazy and I have a whole bunch of leftover Sharpies that just don't have that much ink in them left. So what I like to do is I actually separate them all into separate bags. And what I have here is a bag of used Sharpies, so they have very little ink in them. I've got a bag for dry ones, so this has very little ink in them. And then my super dry ones, there's basically zero ink in them at all. Be able to see a little bit coming through. So I'm going to start my drawing by using a super dry one. I'm going to just sort of outline my drawing with these. What I'll be doing is drawing in the human eye using a sketch technique. It's almost like using charcoal, and charcoal is one of my most favorite mediums to use because you can control the darkness of the pen. So what I got here is the test pad that I made, and this is where I can test the darkness of my pen before I start drawing. So I want to make sure that this pen is very dry. So I'm going to just run out all the ink, just drawing a bunch of swirls until I have almost zero ink left in them, because I'm going to go over my drawing very faintly first. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the upper eyelid. So I'm going to start on the outside and just faintly kind of sketch around a curve. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I could be overlapping some of the lines, and it's fine because I'm going to be going over this a little bit later anyway. So I'm going to come down towards the inside of the eye. I'm going to round out the tear duct. So going out, I'm going to round this out along the bottom and then come back down along the side. And you can see I'm barely touching the page. I'm just sort of going over it with a very sketchy line on the end. I'm just going to round it out. On top, I'm going to draw in the second double eyelid. So up here, I'm just going to draw a sketchy little curve. Goes across like this, and then down over towards the tear duct. And down here, I just want to draw a little faint curve just to kind of guide the lower lashes. So I'm just using the edge of the pen to go across like this. Now in here, I'm going to tuck the iris underneath the eyelid. So I'm going to draw like almost like a half circle going around. You can see the way that I'm holding a pen, it's almost like I'm holding a charcoal pen. It's sort of on the side, this. Then up here, I'm just going to block in a highlight circle. Just going around like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be closed either. And then in the middle of my iris, I'm going to draw in the pupil. So just starting on the side of the highlight, I'll just kind of block this around, going around like this. Okay, so that's all I want to do for now. The next step, I'm going to go in and start darkening up just some of the edges here. Starting on the outside again, I'm just going to kind of go in and just sort of try to feather an even line. So just smoothing out my sketch lines a little. Going across the top, down on the inside, and then I'm just going to feather, just round out this end here just to smooth it out along the top, along the bottom. I'm going to go back to the side and work my way around the bottom. It's starting to darken up on all the edges. Along the bottom here, I'm just going to start in the middle and just kind of taper and feather out towards the sides. Let's go back up to the top and do the same thing. So starting up here, I'm going to darken up the center part of my double eyelid and then just come down on the sides. Let's go back up here and I'm going to just darken up the edge of my pupil. So just going around the edge. This is all going to be colored in black anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you kind of go inside of the lines. Going around like this. I'm going to start shading this in the inside. Just going over lightly. Now I don't want to go over the highlight, so I'm just going to surround the inside edge of the highlight and just continue coloring this in black. Doesn't have to be solid either. I just want to sort of block all my values in before getting to the detail phase. Just like that. On the outer rim, I'm just going to go in again, just work my way around. And this technique is very forgiving because if you can't draw a perfect circle, you can always go back in and just sort of correct them as you go. Back up to the side, and around this way. And the reason why I put the highlight on the top is because I always imagine the light coming down from the top over the eye. So I'm going to draw all my shading sort of this way. So all the shadows will be on the underside and all the highlights will be on the top. Now I got myself an even drier Sharpie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some shading inside the eye. So up here, I'm just going to kind of work my way across and just lightly go across on the inside edge of the eye. Just kind of pulling my pen across this way with a very light touch. I'm going to go on the inside of the eye and do the same thing. So I'm just working my way around. Again, just using the driest part of my pen. Just going across like this. And here I'm just going to shade on in the inside edge. And And I'm sort of feathering this out as I go. So I'm just kind of like pulling, just dragging the pen across. Down here, I'll probably just draw a little bit more just to accentuate the shape of the eye. I'm just going almost like in a cross hatch pattern, going across. I'll feather it out. The same thing on the bottom edge here. Now I'm going to go inside the iris and just shade the top edge and just kind of work my way down, sort of creating a gradient that comes across this way. So working on the outside, and go across. I don't want to go into my highlight. So I'm just going to work across, sort of in a horizontal angle. Starting on the left side. I can just go back in and sort of just feather this out as I go, like that. From the highlight, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Highlight, pull it across this way. Now around the outside perimeter of the iris, I'm just going to pull some lines going in towards the center of the pupil. So working my way around this way. Starting at the base, I'm just going to pull my pen up and just kind of feather it out as I go up. You can see it's a little bit darker along the edge, and I'm just turning my arm as I go around this way. Kind of do want those little lines, little striations of the iris to show up. Go all the way up to the top. Now I'm going to work my way around the left side. And you create this sort of illusion that the eye is sort of rounded this way. Now let's go back to the center of the pupil and work our way around in the opposite direction. Starting from the bottom here, I'm just going to pull towards the outside edge of the iris. These short little lines that go across this way. Going back around. Now I don't want to go too dark because I don't want to take away from the darkness and the contrast of the pupil. Now let's round this out on the inside, just smoothing it out as I go. Now on the inside area here, I just want to draw in the tear duct. So it's basically a curve that goes around. So I'm just going to work my pen around from the bottom going up, and I'll go in the opposite direction. Just kind of feathering it down. And I'll just kind of continue shading the inside edge like that. Up in here, I'm just going to continue just flattening this out. Just kind of smoothing it out, pulling in a separate angle. Down like that. So I got most of the second layer of shading in the eye. I'm just going to go up to the upper eyelid here and just shade in coming down in this direction. Starting outside, I'm just going to kind of feather out. So I'm sort of trying to go from darkest to lightest, coming down this way. So I'm just going to go across this way, and just with a very light touch of my pen, and then just feather it out at the end here. We're going to go to this side and do the same thing. So I'm just going to feather out to a very fine, light point. I'm going to continue going across that. Just fill in a little bit more up here as well. Just darken that up a little bit more. Just round it out, just feathering it out. So now you can start to see that my sketch lines are starting to disappear. Now I'm using longer strokes to just sort of accentuate the shading. Now I'm going to go back in towards the iris and do another layer of shading in here. So around the outside perimeter, I'm just going to work in the opposite direction, just sort of blending in those lines. So it almost creates a very even sort of gradient. And the faster that I move this pen, the lighter the ink will come out. So I'm barely touching the paper right here. going up the inside just a little bit more, right in here. And then along the top, I'm just going to go in the opposite direction. The top, pulling my pen down, across, just to sort of round out that area there. And go back in and just tighten up the highlight area. Now I'm going to go down to this lower line and just kind of clean this up as well. Starting from the middle, I'm just going to sort of blend out towards the outside, just feathering my line. Just cleaning up the little sketch lines that I have towards the side. I'm going to go back in and just sort of highlight up the tear duct a little. So just drawing that little curve down towards the inside and just feathering that out as well. Okay, so now comes the fun part. I'm going to go in and start adding my lashes going up from the upper eyelid. Starting on the outside right here, we're going to come down and just kind of pull my pen and just kind of taper it out. And it doesn't matter if you kind of overlap because you're going to go back over this again anyway. So just want to create that consistent curve that goes up. Starting from the base of the eyelid and just curving out. So you can see I've got this natural motion in my wrist that I'm just pulling my pen. And as I get towards the top of my eye, I'm going to turn the eyelashes. So I'm just going over them again just to create that little soft eyelash look. You can extend them as you go as well. So making a couple more longer across this way. Now as I come to the top, I want to start to straighten them out and go in the opposite direction. So right about here at the top of the iris, I'm going to go straighter. Then I finally go straight up with a couple of the lashes and then start to bend in the opposite direction. And as I get towards the inside of the eye, I'm going to start to space the eyelashes out a little bit further. Spacing on the inside, maybe a little gap right like that, a couple more just down here. And go back in and just start to accentuate some of the lashes, just pressing a little bit harder on my pen. But what I want to get is that sort of soft sort of finish as I come out and start to sort of blend out. I'm going to go to this bottom edge right here and draw the lashes coming down in the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap that line, starting on the outside. I'm going to do the same thing. So just a few sparse eyelashes on the side first to begin, and then just start to thicken them up as I go. The great thing about this is that as you put your pen down, you create almost like a little look of a follicle, just plugged right into the eye right there. And as I get to the bottom, I'm going to straighten these out. Start to come straighter down here, and then start to bend in the opposite direction. And again, I'm just going to feather these out so I don't have too many lashes on the inside. I'm going to go back in and just go over the lashes to thicken them up. Once in a while, you want to sort of step back from your drawing, just kind of look at the lashes and the composition. If there's areas that are a little bit darker than others, you can always go back in and just correct that. So right here, I just want to make sure that these ones are equally as dark as the others. Go back up to the top, do the same thing. So this is almost like a series of just layering, just going back over and over until you get more refined with your line work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over this with a medium used Sharpie pen just to highlight and darken up some of the lashes along the top here. Starting from the base, I don't want to go that long, I just want to draw some shorter curves going out from the base, just to darken up the ridge of the eye. Just closing off those little gaps in between at the base. Same motion as well, just sort of feathering it out as I go. And along the bottom, I'm going to start in the middle here because I don't want them to go too dark along the sides. Then again, I'm just sort of stepping back and just making sure that I don't have any seriously heavy dark spots in the lashes. So it's pretty heavy down here. I want to kind of blend it out this way. I'm going to go back underneath the eyelid and just thicken this up and just kind of clean up some of the straight lines. Going in. And again, using that sort of sketch motion of my arm. I'm going to taper out towards the inside. I'm going to go back along the top as well. So just thickening up the inside edge. On here. On the top. Just defining that eyelid. I'm going to go back to my super dry marker and just draw some of the reflection of the eyelashes over this highlight. So right up here I'm going to curve down, leaving a little bit of gap in between, just pulling these lines across. You don't want to go too dark, just a few coming down this way. And then as I'm doing that, I'm just going to round out the highlight, just cleaning it up a little bit. I'm going to go back into the pupil and just darken that up with my super dark ink. This point of my drawing to stand out. This is the focal point of my drawing. I'm going to go back with my super dry and just kind of go in here and just sort of blend this out again. Just tapering it down. You can keep going over this as much as you like. I'm just going to go up until a point where I'm happy, and you can keep continuing on with your drawing. But that's pretty much it. That's how you reuse an old Sharpie that you have. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Make sure you subscribe and tell us what you think about these lessons. If you like them, I'll continue to do more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.